Guess who's on the phone right now? A man who has been tabbed as a first ballot Hall of Famer by Chris Brockman and Chris Law. He's also the author of the new book, Ball Player, with the foreword written by Bobby Cox, a man who contributed to breaking my heart back in 1992 as a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. Bobby Cox was. Chipper Jones wasn't there, so I got no beef with him. Here he is, everybody. Chipper Jones, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, guys. How are y'all?
I'm doing well, and some great anecdotes coming up in this new book. Of course, everybody remembers Chipper toiling for those Atlanta Braves, and I'll start off with a tough question for you, Chipper, and then we'll dig in on some of the stuff in the book here. Let's say the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. Game 7, 9 innings of baseball to determine humanity's fate. Who do you want out on the hump, Maddux, Glavine, or Smoltz?
Oh, man, I've been asked that. That's an easy one. The guy with the best record in postseason history, John Smoltz. That guy was, I've always said power pitching, dominant power pitching wins in the postseason. I ran up against it many times, whether it was Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in Arizona or Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor in Chicago, or Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens in Houston. Whatever the case may be, that dominant power pitching always wins. And no offense to Glav or Doggy, they were all great in their own right, but people tended to put them in play more during the course of the postseason, and it just seems to me like Smoltz was able to get out of more big jams with the strikeout in the postseason than the other two were, and I think that's a big reason why his record was as stellar as it was.
I'll take your word for it, Chipper Jones. Chris Law over there seemed confused by Doggy. Let me see if I can divine what that is. That's Maddux because he's Mad Dog. Doggy.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Easy enough. Easy peasy there. Now, maybe you didn't take Greg Maddux because one of the great stories in the new book, Ball Player by Chipper Jones, is Greg Maddux had a weird habit in the showers postgame, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, everybody always asks, what were those guys like? And I mean, Smoltz is the most competitive, and Glav's got the fire in his belly, and the unbreakable poise and all this kind of stuff. And Doggy is the grossest human being that I've ever been around in my life. I mean, he just does things now.
Like what?
Like in a clubhouse type atmosphere, that fraternity type atmosphere, it's hilarious. But it's not accepted once you step outside, the clubhouse. And Doggy was like that 24/7. I mean, Doggy would, my very first hit in the big leagues, he wiped boogers on it and stuff like that. I mean, obviously he peed on me in the shower.
Yeah. Peed on the shower. Yeah. Settle down, Trump. Settle down. Listen, let me read a little anecdote not for you, Chipper, but since you penned it, but for everyone. Here's the quote from the book. I was the butt of quite a few pranks over the years. There was a time or two after a game where Maddux would find something important to talk to me about in the shower. I'd be locked in, engaged in conversation. I mean, you're talking to Greg Maddux, and everybody else in the shower would start snickering. I'd look down, and he'd be peeing all over me.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame move by Greg Maddux. Doggy.
Well, I mean, everybody's got these little, idiosyncrasies, and Doggy's was trying to gross people out. And I tell you what, he did it to me when I was a young enough kid that I let him get away with it. I think, 7-8 years into my career, there might have been a naked fight in the shower, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's weird when you can trade on your, Greg Maddux is a future Hall of Famer. He can do whatever he wants. You can't say anything to him, especially if you're a young player, right?
Yeah, well, he was the $14, $15 million man at that point, and I sort of deemed myself expendable if I ever did anything to Greg at that point. So
well, I hope you
he just
paid
had
it forward or peed it forward.
Well, I wasn't. I didn't have the imagination that he did. I was more there to just kind of play baseball. I was a facilitator of pranks through the years, especially in my older years. Guys would come to me and say, "Hey, we want to do this," and I would facilitate it. I would help it happen, but I wasn't the brain trust behind it.
Yeah, but it always came across through your career that you were a fun guy, and I've always said if I could play any position in any sport, I would be a relief pitcher versus a platoon guy because I don't want to be in the dugout where the skipper and the other coaches can see me. I want to be off in the bullpen, out near the fans, where I could maybe even have a beer if I was so inclined. Isn't that? Were you envious of those guys that get to just hang out in the bullpen all day?
I was a little envious of their lifestyle, but I was a guy who wanted to play every day, and I was a guy that I didn't like coming to the ballpark not knowing if I was going to play. So that I was actually recruited as a pitcher coming out of high school, and I would tell teams. Especially major league teams that came to see me in my senior year, look, don't draft me as a pitcher because I do not want to pitch. I don't want to play once every fifth day. I want to play every day. I want to hit. That was my love and my passion. So, the relief pitching, although I understand your point of view, wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, all right. Listen, you're, again, a probable first ballot Hall of Famer, so I'll take your word for it. But that's where you and me part ways, Chipper Jones, because I like playing baseball and everything, but 162 games, it's enough already. Give me every other day I'll play.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I don't know. There's just something about being out there every day, having a say-so as to whether the Atlanta Braves, win or lose the game. It appealed to me. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
I hear you. Chipper Jones, author of the new book, Ball Player. Make sure you check it out. Great stories in there. Let's talk about something. I don't want to make this unpleasant, Chipper, but let's talk about the Atlanta Braves. Where do you come down? I guess if you're a glass half full guy, you say, hey, we won countless division titles. We won that flag season after season after season, and yet we only got the one World Series ring. Is that so? If you're glass half empty, you might say, well, we're kind of like the Buffalo Bills, or one step up from that. How does it sit in your brain now that you've been retired for a couple of years?
Well, I think I can certainly see both sides of the story. I know where fans. I can certainly see where they would think that our run was a bit of a disappointment, even though we got one. And the guys who actually, played the game and know what it's like to go out there year after year, they look at it as something that's pretty incredible. I get it. Like I said earlier, different strokes for different folks. I'm supremely disappointed that we only won one. I think that over the years, try to think back objectively about every series loss over the years. And the one that really, really, really stings the most was 1996. That was where, I felt we were coming off the World Series in 95, defending our championship. I felt like we had the best team. I felt like we were playing well at that time of year, and that was the one that, we go to New York to start the World Series. We win game one like 15-1. We beat Pettit in game one. We beat Jimmy Key in game two 4-0. Now we're coming back home, and I'm thinking we're not coming back to New York. We're going to at least win 2 out of 3. Yankees, true to form and the champions as they are, fought back. Jim Leyrit's homer off of Mark Wohlers. The epic Game 5 between Smoltz and Andy Pettit. It was just once the momentum shifted and once the snowball started rolling down the hill, you just couldn't stop it. But that was the one time that I said, you know what, we got the best team in baseball. We're going back-to-back. I'm going to win the World Series. My first 2 years in the league, life cannot get any better. And then baseball, as it usually does, humbles you, gives you, you could be 20 for 20. Well, guess what? You're going 0 for 30, right after that. It's just the way that baseball is. It has that way of humbling you. But I thought every other time where we had a season-ending series loss at that particular time during that series, that team was better than us. They played better than us, and at that particular point of the year, they were better than us. They had those two power pitchers that we couldn't score runs against, or they, made the big play that we did. And it's unfortunate, but hey. I guess one's better than none.
I was just going to say, I compared you to the Buffalo Bills. You're leaps and bounds ahead of that group. You got your title there. And one more thing, Chipper Jones. We were just talking about the Vegas all of a sudden is the place to be for pro sports teams. They're the Golden Knights of hockey. They're now the Raiders of football. Who would win in a fight, a Golden Knight or a Raider?
Oh, I'm never going to go against a Raider.
You think a Raider takes it? Yeah, right. Because he's lawless. He doesn't care.
Hey, they're from Oakland, and I would never. They don't fight fair down there. So I would definitely, they'd have a switchblade in the pocket or whatever.
You never even bet to play the A's in a World Series. Now you're going after the East Bay people. Chipper Jones, excellent stuff. Go get the book, everybody. It's Ball Player, forward by Bobby Cox. Like I said, he broke my heart in 92 and 91, too. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, Chipper. But go get Chipper Jones' book. It is Ball Player. Thanks for the time, man.
My pleasure, guys. Enjoyed talking with you.
All right, there he goes. Chipper Jones, everybody.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.